Biden recently pushed capping childcare spending for families as a way to cut rising costs. There is one big thing that Manchin does support. That is tax hikes on corporations and assets being sold off by wealthy Americans. Manchin told reporters that he wants to raise the corporate tax rate hike to 25%. That tax on big businesses was slashed from 35 to 21% under the former president. Manchin is also still seeing an eyeing increase to the capital gains tax. Currently, capital gains assets like stocks or real estate are being sold off and are taxed at a far lower rate than income. For the ultra-wealthy, who derive most of their net worth from assets, that means their income is taxed at a lower rate than Americans, who are taking home a standard paycheck. Do you agree with this, folks, and do you think that President Biden should send out the fourth stimulus check sooner than later? Tell me in the comments down below if you agree. So we have a lot of good news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you don't want to miss out on this. Many people are eligible to receive a new stimulus payment worth up to $400. There are new eligibility requirements that Americans have to meet in order to get this check automatically deposited into your bank account. So here's some good news. Democratic governor recently announced that legislation will fast-track a payment to all eligible residents. The governor, Jared Polis of Colorado, and the state's legislature proposed the Colorado Cashback Program, and it's going to provide residents with a $400 payment in just a few weeks. So, I think that states should do the same thing as Colorado and many states like California, because they are giving their residents stimulus checks and helping out the people in need of it the most. The announcement by Governor Polis comes amid a rise in inflation across the country, with a report from the Labor Department showing that inflation increased 8.5% compared to previous years, which is the highest increase in over 40 years. Governor Polis said in a statement people are paying more for everyday items like gas, groceries, and rent through no fault of their own. Instead of the government sitting on the money that Coloradans earned, we want to give that money back, and quickly as possible. According to announcements, the state will provide eligible residents with tax rebate checks once they file their 2021 state tax returns by May 31st. The governor's office also said the Colorado Cashback will provide a flat amount of $400 for a single filer or $800 for a single joint filer. The proposal being introduced in the legislature will give immediate relief to Coloradans, providing tax refunds by September 15th of this year, instead of the spring of 2023. In the announcement, Polis cited the impacts of inflation and the cost of living as reasons for the tax rebate program. Colorado's majority leader applauded the cashback program, saying that refunding $400 or $800 now to every taxpayer in our state will help workers and middle-class families who are feeling the rising cost of goods. In addition, several states have also moved to provide residents with additional economic payments. Governors in Georgia, New Mexico, Indiana, and New Jersey are providing legislation to eligible residents with more money after they file their tax returns. Now there is also a new update on President Biden's next executive order. According to the Washington Post, President Biden is considering limiting student loan debt forgiveness to individuals who make below a specific income. The officials have said that they are now looking at cancellation and limiting cancellation to those making below $150,000. One official told the Washington Post that there's different proposals floating around the administration about how to structure this. Over the course of the past week, especially, the administration and staff have focused the conversation on debt cancellation, on how to meet the president's desire to ensure the most economically vulnerable people with student debt benefit from the action. One of the arguments that Republicans use against student loan relief is that it will benefit higher income Americans, but early this week, Biden denied debt relief would be as high as $50,000 per borrower, but said he would have to say more on the issue in the coming weeks. And his presidential campaign at least forgive $10,000 in student debt per borrower.
Recognize Senator Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. Good to have you before the committee. In your testimony, you discussed the crisis of deaths on America's roadways and the urgent need to address this major safety concern, and I couldn't agree more. One significant way to tackle this crisis in the short, medium, and long term is to support the development and deployment of automated vehicles. AVs have the potential to increase safety, reduce traffic, and benefit the disabled, blind, elderly, and others. The United States has long been at the forefront of automated vehicle innovation. However, as we approach a critical point in the evolution of the technology, and companies need opportunities to safely scale testing and deployment, other nations are creating opportunities that don't exist here in the U.S. For example, Singapore has dedicated over 620 square miles of road testing for AV testing. Secretary Buttigieg, are automated vehicles a priority of the Department of Transportation in this administration? And if so, do you support passage of a national AV framework?
They are a priority for us, partly for the reason you cited. We're in the middle of a crisis of roadway deaths, and one of the many promises that exists, or areas of promise that exists with AVs, is an opportunity to fundamentally change the safety outcomes on our roadways. We're doing what we can with the authorities and flexibilities that we have, but we lack a fully established legislative framework for that, and we would welcome one that would clarify authorities, and in particular I would mention a division of labor that unofficially exists between the federal, my department, and the states, which doesn't really contemplate automated vehicles, and that's that we tend to regulate or assure the safety of the design of the vehicle, and the state DMVs are concerned with the driver. That framework makes sense until you have a scenario where the vehicle is the driver. I don't know how we can address some of those issues without the involvement of Congress.
Thank you for that. What is DOT?
A one-time check for the more than 64 million Social Security beneficiaries would come with a price tag of nearly $90 billion. Now, there are other measures that could help senior citizens as well. Some Democratic representatives have reintroduced a bill called the Social Security 2100 Act. If this were to pass, Social Security benefits would get a boost and implement a new indexing system to more accurately account for inflation. The proposal would also raise thresholds above which recipients' income including Social Security is taxed. According to Representative John Larson, the bill improves the annual COLA formula to better reflect the cost incurred by seniors through adopting a CPIE formula. He said in a statement the provision will help seniors who spend a greater portion of their income on healthcare and other necessities. Improved inflation protection will especially help older retirees and widows who are more likely to rely on Social Security benefits as they age. I believe it's a good decision for President Biden to send out more stimulus checks this year. If you guys agree, tell me in the comments down below. So there are new changes from the federal government, everybody, and it's just been passed. The IRS has announced that many Americans will have to pay back the $1,400 third stimulus check that they received last year. And that is some crazy news, everybody. Given the speed with which the IRS managed to get stimulus payments into people's bank accounts over the past 2 years, it should come as no surprise that some mistakes were made. It may have been as simple as a stimulus payment being sent to someone who earned too much money to be eligible. Whatever issue may be, you might receive a notice from the IRS if you fall into one of the following categories. So everybody, each of the 3 stimulus checks carried a strict income threshold. Once a person hit that threshold, their stimulus payment was phased out. Out of the millions of stimulus checks sent in 2020 and 2021, it was found that the checks were distributed to people whose income exceeded eligibility. So if you earned too much money to qualify for a stimulus check last year, you may have to repay back some stimulus money. Also, if you lived in the United States for years, paid income taxes, but are not a citizen, it's possible the IRS will discover the mistake and request a refund. So many checks have been sent, it's possible that a percentage of individuals